To understand subconscious release, we first have to understand what the subconscious is and how it influences us on a daily basis. The subconscious or unconscious are terms used to describe something that has many names. This is the system within us that helps to keep us safe. This is referred to here as subconscious or unconscious because it's not a part of our conscious mind processing and responding to things. This is the system responsible for keeping our heart beating and controlling our heart rate. This is the system responsible for keeping us breathing when we're not consciously thinking about our breath. It controls things like digestion and immune function, among many, many others. This is a system designed to keep us safe, to keep us out of danger, to keep us alive. These functions all try to keep us alive. We digest the food without having to think about it so that we have energy in the body. Same with the heart pumping through, making sure that the blood is flowing through and nutrients are reaching every part of the body. We don't have to think about these things. So that's where subconscious or unconscious comes in. That's why we're going to use those terms for right now. This is the system that also controls our reflexes. Now, you may be familiar with reflexes in terms of, say, a doctor hitting a knee or an elbow, triggering a reaction of the arm or the leg. This, too, is actually a safety mechanism, a defense mechanism. The strike of a ligament or tendon creates a stimulus that sends a signal saying that the tissue is being stretched too far and too fast, and that it might tear. In order to prevent this, a reflexive reaction is triggered, which immediately causes the shortening of that tissue, and that is what triggers the extension of the arm or the extension of the leg in the case of the knee. Once again, it's a safety mechanism. The subconscious is trying to keep us out of danger, trying to keep us alive and healthy as best as possible. These reflexes can be understood very simply as a stimulus or stimuli creating a reaction. An unconscious one, we don't have to think about it. It's a pre-programmed reaction. So there's a stimuli of some sort, say the hitting of a tendon or ligament, and a pre-programmed reaction, the shortening of that tendon or ligament in that example. There are many physical examples throughout the body, just a couple. When it's cold, we reactively are pulled in and down to help protect body heat for the core and the organs. When we touch something hot, we reflexively pull the hand away. Depending on the strength and duration of a stimuli or stimulus, we will have a stronger or weaker reaction. So if we touch something very hot, or if we're touching something hot for a long time, the reaction will be to pull away further and harder. The colder it is, the more we'll be pulled down. The stronger the stimulus, the stronger the reaction. Now, although there are many physical reflexes, the reflex is governed by the subconscious or unconscious parts of our being, our mind, are not limited to the physical. They cover everything from physical to thought to emotion, and just about every aspect of our daily lives and interactions can be influenced or governed by these reflexive reactions. These aren't conscious. We don't think of these. And in that sense, they are influencing us without us necessarily noticing. Now, many of these can be very helpful. They keep us safe. That's what they're designed to do. They keep us happy, healthy. But at times, they can actually operate the other way. They can make us behave in ways that don't line up with what our conscious goals or beliefs or attitudes may be. These reflexive reactions can lead us to saying things, feeling things, doing things that may, from the outside, seem like they're making our life more difficult or holding us back in some way. Now, from the perspective of the subconscious or unconscious, they are always designed to keep us safe. However, sometimes keeping us safe may mean choosing between two things that the subconscious, two or more things that the subconscious or unconscious may find to be dangerous, both of them in one way or another. And in that way, it's going to choose whatever it feels is the least dangerous, or whatever it feels presents the least amount of threat to your safety. So, for example, somebody that may have come from a emotionally abusive household may learn very early on in their life that when they succeed or stand out, that makes them a target for somebody to then emotionally attack them. What that can trigger, from the perspective of the subconscious or the unconscious mind, is standing out is dangerous. And what that can lead to is self-sabotage. Say, for example, you're in the workplace and you want to work towards a promotion. Consciously, you're trying to do everything you can to work towards that promotion. But subconsciously, that's being viewed as working towards standing out. In other words, working towards a danger in this particular case. And because the subconscious may view that as dangerous, it may trigger a reflexive reaction, something you don't consciously think about, to move you away from that. So you may find yourself sabotaging yourself and messing things up in your performance at work that you normally wouldn't, and you can't quite figure out why. Well, it's not a conscious response. It's an unconscious or subconscious reaction to a stimuli. The stimuli is the potential of standing out, which in the past led to some sort of danger, maybe emotional abuse or physical abuse of some sort. So now, rather than bring up that danger, the subconscious finds a way to react to move you away from standing out, to make you blend in some way or another, so that you may all of a sudden not get that promotion. You may find yourself passed up and you're just consciously you're wondering why, and you may even start creating a story about, oh, I'm not worth it, or this or that. The story is the rational brain's way of rationalizing the unconscious reaction. The rational brain is called the rational brain because it's very good at rationalizing things. So when you have an unconscious reaction, a reflexive reaction, the rational brain is going to come up with some sort of story to make it seem like that is what you wanted to do consciously, or it's going to create some sort of story that makes that reaction make sense to you. And so without knowing it, you have moved yourself away from what your conscious goal was by reflexively reacting in a way to pull you away because that was viewed as dangerous in some way. This is just an example. These can have an unbelievable amount of influences that cause the creation of these reflexes. And sometimes they may be very mundane. Maybe something good happened to you when you were wearing yellow as a child, so you feel really happy when you wear yellow. Maybe something bad happened to you when you were riding a bike at some point. So now every time you get on a bike, there's just a little bit of unease or anxiety. These things can present themselves in a number of ways, but the underlying thing is the same in all of them. These are reflexive reactions controlled by the subconscious or unconscious parts of you that are trying to keep you safe in some way or another. In many ways, they operate to do just that. They keep us safe, happy, healthy, and they keep us on a track that we want to be on. But there are times, particularly for those who have had a harder life or more traumas or challenges, however you want to phrase it, where the subconscious or unconscious can then pull us away from what may allow our true selves, our shining light, to shine through, and it can hold us back in some ways. Now, this is where the concepts or ideas of various subconscious releases come in. We are able to communicate with the subconscious. We can bridge that gap between the conscious mind and the subconscious or unconscious that's controlling these reflexive responses, reflexive reactions. By bridging that gap and communicating even with the deeper parts of our consciousness that are in control of these things, we can help them to let go of any of those reflexive reactions or responses. Response is more of a conscious thing. I like to make a distinction between reaction being unconscious and response being conscious. So we can let go of some of those reactions or beliefs or patterns of behavior that have been built up over time that perhaps are no longer necessary. They're no longer necessary to keep us safe. They don't support our journey through this life, our highest good, if you will. And by communicating with the subconscious or unconscious and helping to facilitate the release of those patterns or reflexes that no longer serve us, we can then open up, and rather than having to react to things, we can then consciously respond to things, allowing us a little more freedom, a little more control, allowing us to express ourselves more openly, allowing our inner light, our brightness, our love, our compassion to shine through a little bit brighter. These subconscious releases are not particularly difficult. They involve coming into a deeply relaxed state. The more deeply we can relax, the more we can bridge the conscious and subconscious or unconscious. We can release some of that conscious control to allow the subconscious to come closer to the surface. When we get into these deeply relaxed states, we can clearly and quickly and efficiently communicate with the subconscious to facilitate the release of these things. Now, it doesn't always go immediately, everything's perfect and smooth. Sometimes there are things that we've been denying about ourselves or our interactions or experiences that are trying to come to the surface. And those things can cause chaos in our lives. So as we release some things and those things bubble closer to the surface, sometimes when we begin a journey of releasing these things and going deeper inside, things can get a little bit more chaotic in our lives for a minute. However, it's not permanent. We can work through these things, we can move past these things. And the more we release these things, the more we'll see that they were already influencing our life in a number of ways. And by releasing them and moving beyond them, we bring more clarity, more compassion, more love, more freedom. We experience the flow and joy of life much more clearly. It's a very rewarding experience, and although at times there can be feelings of chaos or fear or any of these things that we've been suppressing, as you move through it, it becomes more and more rewarding. And you start to see things in a different way. You interface with yourself, with the people around you, with your jobs, with everything in your life. You interface in a different way. It's more open, it's more comfortable, it flows easier, and it's very worth it. It's very worth it to work on yourself in this way, to open up, to allow yourself to let go of those things that you no longer need. And the beautiful thing is, it's a spiral upward. Now, when we're ignoring these things and allowing these patterns and reflexes to run, the spiral can kind of bring us down quicker, in that our reflexes occur and influence our pattern of behavior, which then in turn influences the reflex to be stronger, and it just builds on itself and can bring us down to places that can be difficult. But when we start to release some of the reflexes, it opens up the opportunity to release those patterns as well. And we create new patterns, or we simply allow those patterns to go, and by releasing them, it makes it easier to then release the next reflex, which makes it easier to change your pattern, and it just builds. It's a process of empowerment and enlightenment. You get to take control of your own journey again. You get to feel relief and release. You get to express more of your true nature, allowing yourself to be who you've always been, but have been covered up a bit. The more you're willing to work on changing the patterns of behavior in your life, the easier it'll be to then change the reflex, release that reflexive reaction. And the more you're working on releasing reflexive reactions, the easier it's going to be for you to address the patterns of behavior in your life. It's a very powerful upward spiral, lifting you up, empowering you, raising your consciousness and your awareness. It's a powerful, powerful experience, and I highly recommend it to anybody that's ready. You have to be ready to journey down the path. Nobody can do this for you. There are people out there that can help facilitate. I'm happy to help facilitate for anybody that's interested in this kind of work. But you have to be open and ready to let go. And as you're open and ready to let go, it empowers you more. By letting go, you actually end up taking more control over yourself and your life. It's part of the duality of this reality. When you're ready to let go, it's a powerful journey. It doesn't take a lot of effort, but it does take willingness. You have to voluntarily approach it and engage with the deeper parts of yourself. Happy journeys. Have a beautiful, loving, and compassionate day.